Hey everyone, I'm Liz, I paint minis. You're welcome to stop by my channel for a bit. I'm painting issue 3 of the Spearhead magazine today, as published by Hachette Partworks. This issue comes with 5 Liberators from the Stormcast army. We're at the full issue price now of £9.99 per issue. A pack of 10 Liberators is available on the Warhammer website for £38, and they're also available in the Spearhead starter set. Either way, it's a massive saving on buying the Liberators separately. Issue 3 has the assembly guide, a little bit of info about the Stormcast, some helpful information on how to play, as well as the first part of the painting guide. This talks about all the sorts of things you'll need to start painting, but there's more in issue 4, which also includes our first 2 paints and a paintbrush. So I always use a spray primer for my minis to get that first solid coat on, but the magazine recommends a method of undercoating to prime these minis instead. Now, undercoating is where you paint a colour as the base of the mini and then glaze over it with thinner paints, so you can only see a little bit of it coming through in the final miniature. So, arguably they're kind of misusing the term undercoat here, but that's kind of beside the point. Because the point is just to get the first colour on top of the plastic of the miniature, so that later paints can stick to it better. So I'm going to do an experiment here. I have 5 Liberators here. 3 of them I'm going to prime in my usual method, and 2 I'll undercoat similar to how the magazine suggests, because I want to see what works better. When I spray prime, I always make sure to go outside for it, because spray paints, whether they're from a rattle can or an airbrush, they can cause fumes that make you sick. So you need to have good ventilation, and my room has very bad ventilation, so outside it is. I've put the minis in a box so they don't all fly away. Trying to find escaped pieces of minis can be quite the conundrum. So, here's our 5 minis. I'm going to paint the ones that I've primed first. I've also pulled out the Lord Veritant from the first issue to remind me of what the paint scheme actually is. I'll start with gold, because that's the main armour colour. I do thin it down a tiny bit to help it flow better, and then just slap it all over. I painted gold here around the edge of the shields. Gotta be careful not to spill over onto the shield itself. My next colour is a metallic silver. I don't look too closely at how I'm painting the shield, I do change my mind about it later. So I did grab my Lord Veritant earlier to help me figure out where to put my paints, and honestly it didn't actually help as much as I hoped. The guys have visible armpits and elbows and all kinds of other things which were hidden on the Veritant, so I had to go back and forth a bit to figure out what paint I actually wanted to put where. Right, let's get some blue on these minis. Don't forget, shouldn't just paint the mini, should make sure to paint yourself as well. So given that these guys don't actually have capes like the Veritant does, I'm using blue as more of an accent colour here. So it's going on things like the belts and the leathery trims. It's also going on the shield. It'll look messy for now, but I will tidy up with some more silver on the raised bits in a bit. And then this handle and a few other bits are getting brown with a touch of red mixed in. Muddy texture on the base, with some green for grass on the other side and a little grey on the rocks, and that's those three pretty much done. Now it's time for the unprimed minis. The way I'm undercoating these is by thinning my black down quite a bit and then painting all over them, concentrating on getting it all over the model as much as possible. I was only going to do one coat on these two, but then I thought maybe I should try doing 2 coats on one of them, just see if the amount of undercoat makes a difference. So the guy with 2 hammers is getting 2 coats. After that, it's pretty much the same process as the primed minis, really, and honestly, aside from some paint splitting on the first layer, these pretty much painted the same as before. I actually noticed that I painted these a little faster than the other 3, though I think that's mostly because I didn't have to make as many decisions on where to put my paint, and I could just copy the other Liberators. It's not even worth showing you most of this because it's exactly the same as the primed version. So after painting the bases, I do paint the faces, and you'll just have to trust me on this, because my camera decided it didn't want to focus on painting the faces for pretty much all of it. And here's the final result! I actually went into this with the perception that you absolutely have to prime miniatures, and even undercoating with black wouldn't help, so I'm pleasantly surprised that these minis have turned out effectively the same. So what's my conclusion? If you have to undercoat minis, because you don't have the ability to spray paint, but because maybe you don't have enough space, maybe you don't have the ventilation, maybe you just don't have the product, then undercoating in this way is actually fine. I didn't have any significant issues with it. But if you're able to spray prime, I do think it's better overall, because it lets you coat the mini more evenly, and it's much faster than painting several undercoats on. I've heard there's also a risk of paint rubbing off faster on undercoated minis rather than primed minis. Maybe that depends on how you use them. But have any of you guys ever tried undercoating versus priming before? What were your results? Let me know in the comments below. Feel free to like the video and subscribe if you want to. I hope to see you next time.